What is up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to the second edition of the BF Film Session Live. I'm your host, Clay Troy, and with me here, I've got Cash Out BF Casey Reed.
What's going on? It's been a wild day. We both were rushing to get into the so-called studio. It was pretty bad.
Yes, yeah, definitely a little bit of a rush there. Both kind of coming in last second, getting all the videos ready and everything ready for the stream here, and then you coming back into your house just in time as well. So appreciate everyone that's here right now. I know I see John's in the chat here as well. Thank you for joining us, John. You were a big contributor in the conversation last week, so we appreciate you being here, and we hope we have some more good conversations for you. So yeah, today we're talking about the run game. We're gonna talk a little bit about the new addition, Matt Breida, and I think that's how you pronounce it, Breida. I'm not really sure. We just had a discussion about it, and I still don't know. But we're gonna talk about him a little bit and see. We're gonna look at mostly his stuff from last season, a few things from before with the 49ers, just to kind of see what he's like most recently. Yeah. And then we're gonna talk a little bit about the Bills run game from last year as well, and how that a lot of people think that was ineffective, and for the most part, it wasn't the best running scheme in the league. So we're going to take a look and see, some of the things that went wrong, some of the things that went well, and just kind of take a little bit of a deep dive, and then we'll kind of leave it up to you guys to see how you want to judge that, and we'll give our opinions on it as well. But yeah, it should be pretty fun, man.
For sure. Jeff, DH, Chris, Harold, and Zack jumping into the chat real quick. I'm very curious because there's a debate. Who are we going to draft at 30? A lot of people are going running back, immediately going running back. So my question is always, hey, do we need a running back? Do we need to fix the line? Feliciano, his contract, you can get out of it next year. So if an old line drops to pick 30 and he's good enough to take, and it's not a reach, do you go ahead and grab him, even with, say, Najee Harris on the board and ETN on the board? Do you go ahead and still fortify that line? So I'm curious to jump into this and see where it takes us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree 100%. And, there is kind of a debate right now about that first round pick. Do we go lineman or do we go running back? Both are going to be good for the run game, hopefully in the end, but which one is really the better choice? And I think it'll be interesting to see kind of where Bean goes with it, just because there's not really a lot of holes on the team at all across the board for the roster. So I think it'll be kind of cool to really see, how he goes about handling that, and see if he really does kind of stick to his best man available strategy when it goes to the draft there.
Yeah, go ahead in the chat. Let us know what would you rather do. I see Harold coming in. He's saying go corner. Obviously, that's not the focus of the show, but let us know at pick 30. What do you want? If it is O-line, is it running back? Or like Harold said, go corner, get that CB2. What would y'all like to see at pick 30?
Yeah, and there's some people that want edge rusher. There are like a few. I wouldn't say there's any holes, but there's some weaknesses still in the roster. So, a lot of people are kind of focusing on those. And Chris, I know you said you have a theory. Of course, I would love to hear your theory, the real Chris Janke. But Zack chipping in here as well. I kind of would have to agree, off the initial thought. I'm a lineman guy. I'm a trenches guy. I believe in that kind of stuff. And I also don't think you should ever draft a running back in the first round. I hope, my people are with me here who are on the same page as me. Best available. Yeah. I think that's kind of what Bean likes to do as well. So we could be in for something like that. I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's the route that he decides to go. But anyway, let's jump right into some of this Matt Breida stuff here.
Yeah, old Matty B.
Yeah, and watching his stuff was pretty interesting because I had never really taken, too much of a hard look at what was going on with Matt Breida before. So I knew that he had success in San Francisco with the Niners, and then he kind of just, as soon as he signed with the Dolphins, you just didn't really hear his name as much.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what was going on behind the scenes and practices and stuff like that, but he really didn't get that many reps. So I watched every rep that he had, either as a running back or a receiver. And I was able to get through his whole season pretty quickly. So we're going to take a look at some of the stuff that I saw that kind of stuck out to me a little bit. We're looking at the Dolphins on this one, not the Bills like usual. So make sure we're looking at the right team here, first of all. But yeah, so this one is the first thing. And the thing that I kind of noticed is sometimes he'll just miss his mark a little bit, where he'll go up to the line, he'll get the ball, he's looking forward where the hole's supposed to be, and sometimes he'll just see an open space a little bit, and he'll be like, I'm going to go to the open space, whether or not his blocks are kind of showing him that that's where he needs to go. And so this is kind of an example here where this one's not quite as bad as far as missing the mark, but he still is a little bit off here on this one. And we're going to watch it in the slow-mo here, and I think this is the best angle that we're going to get. So right about here, he's looking forward, and let me go back and take another look at the scheme. So we've got kind of a pin and pull situation here. He's pulling around. Probably the goal here is you want Breida to follow the hip of your puller here. So we're going to go through, and initially that's the direction he's going. You've got your guy pulling around the edge here. He's going to be able to seal in Klein over there, and I can't remember who the DB is on the outside. But as right about here, he's got his eyes forward, and I know that this is the direction that the play's supposed to go. It's supposed to go over this way. But if he were to just take one peek backward, he would see all this green grass, this huge lane that he could have cut back through. And, cutting back is tough sometimes, especially when it's not a zone play. So typically it's like, well, I'm just going to follow my blocker because I've got a lead blocker who's pulling for me. So I'm just going to go through there, and that's how we're going to get through. But in this situation, I mean, if he had his eyes up a little bit, head on a swivel, then he could have been able to see that cutback lane. Even still, I think if he follows 75 through, I think he would have had a better time. Since he tries to cut up, there's a lot of traffic in here, and it's not really the best way. I would rather him follow around the hip, 84 if he can go kick out. I think that's Dean Marlowe there. And then it's kind of a one-on-one with a defensive back instead of running into a pile of linemen and linebackers. This isn't a terrible play still. He gets, I think, maybe 4 yards on this play. So it's not terrible. But it's just something where it's, he kind of missed that big play opportunity there on that cutback. And with his kind of speed, if he sees grass like that, then, I think that would be something that could, that he should be able to do. And then this one is another one where he just kind of misses a little bit. This one I think I was much more frustrated with because the blocking scheme kind of allows him to pick and choose where he wants to go a little bit. There's nothing fancy about the blocking scheme here. You've got a double here, and one of those is going to peel off for a linebacker. You've got a double here. One of them is going to peel off for the other linebacker. And Breida just kind of gets to sit back, look around, and choose where he wants to go. This is a typical blocking scheme here for kind of it's more of a zone scheme. So, and right about here, he's really eyeballing this blocker. And I think that's who he's going to end up judging where he goes off of this. And Saran Neal, thank you, Chris. My apologies. Dean Marlowe's number 31. And then, I think it's kind of right here, you would think, well, follow this guy. He just broke off the double and he's reaching to the linebacker. I've got a butt here and a butt here. So I know that that's a solid lane to run through. And he decides to go outside instead. And it wasn't the right decision. As we can see in slow-mo here, just as this guy starts to go up, there should be a nice lane up the middle. If he can cut through here and then cut to either side of that blocker, he could be in the end zone. He's pretty much got one guy to beat at that point. So
does he consistently look for the outside to jump to the outside? Is that something, because he relies on his, now of course I've seen all these clips, right? But does he rely mostly on his speed, thinking, hey, I'm a fast guy, let me bounce to the outside really quickly, maybe I can outrun them, instead of, relying on his vision, like, hey man, there's an open hole, just follow your blockers?
Yeah. I think he tends to hit the outside if he can. If he thinks it's there, if you think there's enough space. There are definitely times where there's nothing outside. I'm just going to cut it up and get whatever I can, which, in some cases that's the best play you can make as a running back. Yeah. Where it's, there's not much there. I can't really break it outside and use my speed for anything. I'm just going to pound it through this hole that should be here, and maybe I'll get a yard or two out of it. But there are definitely times when he kind of forces it outside. And I think that was one of those situations where he saw green grass and open area, and he's like, I'm just going to go take that, when he should have been a little more patient. And seen that little gap developing. And that's also kind of knowing the blocking scheme too, and knowing where your blockers are going to go. And if we go back kind of to this situation here, I want to go back so we can see. So a situation like this, where, this is more of an outside player here. He's more of a 9 tech. So you've got the double with your tight end here, and then since he's more head up on the tight end, and you can just kind of push him out in the double to let the tight end get him, then your tackle can go up to the second level more easily. So you should know that your tackle is going to be the one that's releasing here in that kind of a situation. So knowing the blocking scheme and knowing who's going to release on those double teams, and I think that's kind of important when it comes to being able to know where the gap is going to end up and where your blockers are going to be.
Because his tackle pushes 54, pushes the linebacker straight into him. And instead of he could have bounced out, and you're right, he could have hit the end zone right there.
Yeah. So, and at this point, it's hard to say, where that linebacker would have went up if this block would have even worked out, but it would have been a better situation because at least you got a hat on a hat there. If you want to go ahead and take that instead. This one, impatience is another thing where I've seen with him a little bit where it could be another knock where sometimes, he is fast and he is like a quick guy through the hole sometimes. So I think that sometimes that can get him in some trouble as well. And we can stop and talk about Jeff King's comment here real quick as well.
For sure. Jeff comes in. He said, guys, I haven't had much time to research him, but what is his injury past and are they significant? Skeptical because both the 49ers and Fins let him go. That and the Bills only signed him for vet min. Mm-hmm. So do you know much about his injury past? Because I'm going to be frank with you, and you can be Sally, but I have no idea about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure about his injury past. I know he's been banged up here and there, and like I said, he didn't get a lot of snaps last year, and a lot of those games he was inactive, I think, with injuries. So I'm not exactly sure what those injuries are. Yeah, if someone wants to look that up real quick, that would be lovely.
Put it in the chat.
But I'm not really sure, to be honest, about his injuries. I think he might have spent a game or two on the COVID list last year as well, which, kind of was an unexpected way for guys to miss reps last season. But I don't know as far as injury history goes. And even with, you've got 2 other guys that haven't really had much injury history. Moss kind of hurt his ankle there a little bit toward the end, but Singletary's been fairly healthy with maybe hamstring here and there. But when you've got 3 guys that can all play, which I think in this case they have 3 guys that can play. So if you're doing a running back by committee, if one of your guys goes down, then you still got 2 great running backs that you can that can fill in and can still play. And Zack, they had a bunch of running backs over there in San Francisco as well, and Breida still kind of was able to shine, which I think was pretty interesting. But yeah, let's go back to that kind of impatience that he has sometimes when he's going through the hole. This is another zone blocking scheme, and on this one, it doesn't look too bad. It kind of just looks like there's nothing there at first. It's like, well, the linebackers in the hole. What can you do about it? Tough luck. The tight end didn't block his guy well enough, and there's a linebacker in the hole. And it's so fast, and he really is not rushing. But if he just waits a half second, then 67 can release from that double team and take that linebacker, and he can shoot through that hole. It happens so quick that it's hard to knock him for it. But that's another thing with knowing your blockers and knowing who's going to break off the double team and get your linebackers. So that's the one thing that I thought here, where it's like, well, if he were to just wait a split second longer, he could cut back behind that lineman there. And because he released a little bit earlier and decided to just punch it through that hole, the linebacker was able to get past the blocker. So, setting up your blockers is a big thing where, if you've got a guy who you're kind of one-on-one with in the hole, how are you going to make him miss? Do you have a guy that's there who can block him? Do you know how, can you wait a second for your blocker to get there? And, John in the chat said, asking a speed guy to be patient is tough. And it really is. When you're a straight line speed guy, probably for most of their career, they're taught get the ball and go as fast as you can through that hole as soon as you have the ball in your hands. So it is really tough to kind of teach a guy to slow down a little bit and to be able to read the play. And yeah, that wasn't like a crazy bad read or anything like that. It's a split second thing. But if he just has, 1 second more patience, I think that's something when Le'Veon Bell was in his prime, his patience and setting up his blocks was his biggest strength, where he would just sit back there behind the line of scrimmage and be like, yeah, that guy's not blocked yet. I'm just going to wait a second and now I'm good and I'm going to shoot the gap. So, patience is very important in certain situations.
You beat me to that Le'Veon Bell take.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's fine. Well, I was gonna say, just Bale in his prime. Like he looks like to be the only guy that hesitates. He's got that slow hezzy, and then he hits it. You're kind of asking, and that's probably why Matty B has kind of bounced around. That's kind of what separates him from being an elite and just a good runner. You see what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, and I think Chris just put in something about his starts. I'm not sure if those are related to injury either, about how many of those are injury related, because he was, he didn't play, he didn't start any games his first season, but I know he made some plays his first season in 2017.
Yeah.
And then, 2018, they knew what he was capable of then. And then, 19, only 5 started, but played 13. So, I mean, he's played, the majority of the games each season. Yeah. And I think, his speed is something that we're going to get into later, but that home run ability is something that I think is good to be able to have. Old school Thurman. Yeah, old Thurman. Watching Thurman play is so cool because the way that he sets up blocks and sets up guys pretty much to fake them out. And he gave him the fake legs so much where he'd be like, yeah, you can tackle me over here. And then he just jukes out of it. The way that his elusiveness was just crazy back in the day. But yeah, let's see. Back to this waiting on the blocker. This is another one where it's so bang bang that it's hard to fault him for it. But another one where he just doesn't wait for his blocker to come off the double team. And in this case, it's going to be number 80, one of his tight ends here. Gesicki makes a decent enough block to get the end out of the way. And you can see there's even 2 guys here really that can block this one linebacker. And if he just kind of hesitates or cuts, takes an instep to kind of set that block up and get his guy, or even if he wants to take a jab outside and cut in, if then he can this lineman can wash the linebacker out. He has options here, but instead he just kind of doesn't really know what to do, and he ends up just running right into him when he's got 2 guys that are trying to block that guy. So that's something where patience can come into play. And yeah, once you're there, it's hard because you've got that speed and you just want to go. So yeah, he got popped pretty hard there. And then so on the contrary to his not seeing the hole sometimes, not waiting for blocks sometimes, there's other times where he'll make a play and I'm like, how the hell did he see that cutback lane? So I'm not really sure, what he sees when he's out there, but when he does see that cutback lane and he hits it with his speed, he's able to make big plays off it. And
he goes zoom.
Yeah, he goes zoom as we say in our group chat. But right here, I mean, you would think he's trying to go up to the outside and hit the sideline here, but he decides to bend it back under that block. And I actually think, I have no idea how he decided that, where he saw this. To me, you would think he's like, yeah, I'm just going to go up there. I got at least one blocker. But instead he tries to bend it back, and he almost splits the tacklers there. He just gets clipped there in his feet. But yeah, I think that was a good cutback. He sees the open space over there and he tries to hit it with and get there with his speed. So I think that was kind of an interesting thing to see, where I would not have seen that cutback lane. I wouldn't have even thought that I could cut back at that level. Yeah, screen passes, and I think this correlates to what I was at the point I was just about to bring up is I think his vision at the second level is better than it is at the first level. When he's going through the offensive line, it seems like that's when he's missing a lot of his stuff. And it's just, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the clutter of everything. But once he gets to that second level, I think his vision improves to the point where, his open field running is much better than when he's kind of in traffic down there in the line.
And Harold, speaking of screen passes, this isn't the screen pass, is it?
It might be. I can't. No. This is we're gonna get there. Yeah, we're gonna get there. But yeah, this is another nice cutback, good vision. And this one I think is really cool because the whole cutback happens in front, like behind the line and behind the line of scrimmage. And the design of this play, I'm not sure if it's meant to cut back or not. And maybe it is. Maybe this is the hole that he's supposed to be going through. And if this is somewhat of a counter play here. But he stops here, and it looks like that's probably where he's supposed to go. Maybe he sees, Marcus May and says, I can't go that way anymore. And then he could have cut up there. That guy would have had him, and he just keeps on cutting back, and he ends up seeing this guy's butt. And when you see your lineman's butt, that's a great sign. If you can see his numbers, then that's where you want to run behind. So he goes there, cuts up. 96 makes a good play, kind of spins around and makes the tackle. But I just thought this was cool that his vision, he was able to look all the way across the line, and then he was able to find kind of where he should have gone there. Yeah, and then John was saying scheme. I think it was designed to go either up the middle or cut it back. So it was nice to see that he was able to read that and make that cut all the way back, and then with quickness as well. What were you going to say?
Zach taking the words right out of my mouth, like a meatloaf, but he said he turned on a dime, and that was something that I immediately saw when I was watching this. Just from an average fan type of guy, you're watching this, and he cuts it. He's got that nice shiftiness. He immediately just sticks his foot in the ground, and he's gone. He's out. So yeah, he turned it on a dime, all right.
Yeah, and his quickness is pretty good. I would say, and we can talk about this a little bit afterward, but comparing him to the guys on our on the roster already, Moss and Singletary, there are definitely some attributes that kind of each one has their specialty and has the thing that they're best at. And here's something with good patience now, where before I was saying he was lacking patience at time, and sometimes he just wouldn't wait for the blocks. This one's good. He kind of it's sorry, I'm going back pretty far here. This one I like how he just kind of waits. It's a zone scheme, so he wants to hit. This is the gap that I'm assuming he's trying to go in. It could be another cutback. It's hard to tell at times, but this looks where he wants to go, and typically you want to fall the one of the hips of your guards depending on the play that you're running, and he just doesn't like what he sees there. He might have been able to hit it. It's hard to say, but I mean, this guy just kind of gets beat anyway. So he cuts back and is able to get all the way around, and his guy's making a nice block on the backside, and he's able to wiggle around him. I thought that was good. I liked his ability to kind of stop, assess the situation behind the line of scrimmage, and then decide that he's going to cut back and then make something happen afterward. Which is another thing where it's like, is he good at this or is he bad at this? It's hard to tell sometimes, because it's like, well, he made a really good read here, but earlier I had no idea what the heck he was doing. So I think consistency will be something to look out for him. And now this one is just kind of, once he decides, the speed that he shoots through the hole here is so impressive, and it's a tight gap. And for him to be able to, first of all, recognize it, and then just squeeze through it and get extra yards after he gets through. Just a really good job there. And we can stop and talk about this comment here.
We'll definitely get to Singletary, because there's a couple of plays that we have highlighted for Singletary. But the way Matty B makes himself small, almost like an amoeba, he amoebas his way through the hole and gets off it, is super, super impressive.
Yeah.
But going off of Prince of Mathematicians, which is a wild name, he says 2018 separated shoulder, missed preseason, missed 2 games total for ankle injury, missed 3 games for another ankle injury in 2019, 2020 hamstring strain, missed 2 games, then 2 more for COVID.
Okay. That's not terrible. I mean, the ankle things, maybe it's could hinder his lateral movement a little bit, but that's not too bad, honestly. I don't have any problems with that injury history. So that's good to hear. Cause honestly, I didn't know. But yeah, and so yeah, going back, we watch this one in slow-mo real quick, just kind of squeezing through the hole here. Great blocking, by the way. The Bills, I don't know what the Bills were doing here. I didn't even look at them, to be honest, but it wasn't pretty for them. Great play by the Dolphins, though.
Don't watch them. Don't watch them. We're watching Matty B right now.
Yeah. And then this one is another one where he just the speed in which he hits the hole. I mean, he runs into Fred Warner, a really good linebacker, and he's just going so fast that he bounces right off. The speed at which he's able to get through there. It's a simple read, which is nice. It's nice to see this too, because this is he's got a guard pulling here. Is that it? Or maybe he's got a pulling guard here as well, which is good to see that he can follow these blocks and he's not just a zone scheme guy. it's important to be able to follow that blocker sometimes. And he actually, he doesn't really do it to a T here. Instead, he follows his I think that's his fullback coming through there. But even still, the acceleration through the hole, I want to go back and watch that full speed again, because he gets through there so fast, and just the way that he bounces off Fred Warner is it's not like he's a power guy. He's just moving so fast that he doesn't have time to wrap up, and he just bounces right off. So things like that. I mean, I don't know if the Bills have ever opened up a gap up the middle like that before, but if they do, then they're going to be in for a treat there, because Breida can really shoot the gap if it's there. Now we're getting to the screen pass.
Harold, it's screen pass time. This one's a really, 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 really good play, and it illustrates what you just said. A couple plays back, where you're talking about his vision outside of line. When you get to that second level, what does his vision look like? And this play kind of illustrates that. Right,
and patience with the screenplay is important too, because you got to wait for your linemen. They're still at the line of scrimmage, all bunched up. You got to wait for these guys to release and get out in front of you so that they can block these little guys for you. And he does a good job here. He gets behind that lineman, waits, and then uses the speed. And that speed is something that we have not seen in Buffalo in recent years here, because right about here, this is maybe going to get 5 more yards if you're, Moss or Singletary, because they're not going to be able to hit the edge. They're probably going to either try to cut back inside, maybe try to juke and go outside, or they're going to run right into him. Maybe, Moss says, I'm going to try to truck this guy. But Breida says, I can beat you on the sideline. So he hits the sideline and gets an extra 15 yards just from that one spot where like I said, I don't know if Singletary or Moss is going to get that many more yards. They might be able to get another 10 out of it if they can get him, falling backward on the tackle. But to get an extra, 15, 20 yards by getting to the sideline like that is so nice to be able to have those extra yards in there. And then more speed. I mean, at the end here, I just kind of wanted to show off his speed a little bit, because it's something that I do think can change how plays turn out in the end, where you can get through, but once you get to the second level, what are you doing after that? And I think that's kind of where the Bills are lacking in certain parts. We'll see that later, but this one is just straight insane. I mean, there's hardly any blocking over there. He's got 3 guys almost that could make the tackle, and he says, I'm just going to hit the edge faster than you. You can't stop me. Which I just think is awesome. That he's like, right here, he's got
2 guys in the hole.
1, 2, 3 guys. There's a guy over here that he could beat, and he just says, I'm just gonna beat you guys to the sideline. I'm gonna get 15 yards on this run, which is it's just not in the arsenal of anyone that's on the roster or anyone that was previously on the roster for the Bills. So it's nice to be able to have that extra element and kind of keep them on their toes. I think when you pair him with other guys that have a little more power, a little more shiftiness, it's going to throw the defenders off a little bit. And then this one is, vision and speed. He hits the hole where he's supposed to hit it, and then he just goes and he almost splits the defender. Man. He's so fast. He goes zoom. Look at how when he hits the hole. Great job, by the way. He's got a tight end coming across here and blocking this outside guy. Good job to see that block and then hit it and go straight up. And then he uses this block as well to almost split the gap. He almost makes it through there, but McCourty gets to him there. Just the speed to be able to, when you hit that, get an extra 15 yards real quick. I don't think either of those guys would have been able to get to the point where they're splitting those defenders. I think they would have been stopped a lot sooner than that.
His 49ers tape is real fun.
Yeah. Honestly, I went back and watched some of the 49ers stuff, and it was so much more fun to watch because he was so explosive. He never really had a lot of those super explosive big plays with the Dolphins. But when he breaks it, he breaks it. And he's got that ability to turn a small play into a touchdown. And that's kind of what he does here. I mean, it's good blocking. He's got a nice hold and run through. He's got a guy at the second level. Really, he's only got one guy to beat. And you better believe he's going to beat him, right up there. And
he's just gone. He's gone.
Yeah.
Anthony, coming in, and he's saying, I don't know, can Knox block like that tight end? Talking about the Dolphins tape. Yeah, we're going to get into it. I promise you, we're going to get into it. There's one clip that Clay found because he's a wizard at finding these things, and it's talking about Dawson Knox blocking. So we will get into that, Anthony. I promise you.
And there's situations too where that with a scheme like that, it makes it a lot easier for that tight end because it's almost like he's pulling. So it adds that element of this guy doesn't know where his blocker's coming from in a certain situation. It's almost like he's kind of a trap block in that situation where you let him go and you let the tight end take him instead. And that's definitely to an advantage. You got a full head of steam. So I think he probably could have made a block like that where he's moving and everything, but we'll take a look and see how he does kind of, from a standstill and when he's got to take on some guys that are good rushers. But yeah, straight line speed, and we're going to see another one here. This is this is my favorite play probably from his entire career. He doesn't score a touchdown, but I just love this play because he gets, first of all, nothing going on. The play design is to go this way. There's nothing there. So he says, well, I'm just going to go back the other way then. And then he sees William Jackson there and he's like, well, I got to do something about that. So he just puts him on the ground and then decides to go to the sideline and get an extra 25 yards after. First of all, the vision to recognize that he's got nothing going on that way, cuts it back, stops completely, and then hits the sideline. Show me Moss making a play like that. I think Singletary probably could have made the juke at least. I think he would have juked that guy out. But to get to the sideline and get 20 yards after, I don't think that's something that we really have seen in anyone's arsenal there. So that's kind of the basis for Breida. I mean, he's definitely kind of a big play, not necessarily big play or bust, but that can certainly be what he looks like sometimes on film.
Yes, Harold. Yes. Jump cut magic. That's exactly what I saw when I was watching these few clips that Clay sent me. Jump cut magic. And that's something I think the Bills are missing right now. And Clay, I texted Clay and I said, hey, just got done watching, Matty B jump around. Does that kind of make Singletary, irrelevant? So, and once we get into the Bills run game, what went wrong? Was it the O-line? Was it the running backs? Is it a little bit of both? I'll let y'all decide down there in the comments. But does that make him irrelevant? And that's something that I want y'all to think about.
Yeah, and I think it's a good question because, do they have the same skill set? Does it make him expendable where they can, get something more valuable for him like a draft pick or another player in a different position for, a running back needy team or something like that? It'll be interesting to see how it goes. And, we'll talk about their skill sets and how they compare. And I'm not necessarily sure if it's a perfect match. They're a little bit different players, but we'll talk about it for sure. But yeah, I mean, anything else? What were your other thoughts going through your head when you were watching Breida? And did you watch anything other, like go watch his highlights from, years ago or things like that?
Yeah, I watched his highlights because I think that's what every fan does when they sign a player. Immediately go and watch the highlights. Like, who is this guy? I'm an expert. I'm gonna go watch it. So they go and watch the highlights. But I think the biggest thing that I saw was just the shiftiness, the way he can make himself smaller. And then it didn't really highlight everything until I started watching the film that you have with our O-line and with our running backs of how he can make himself smaller, how he just kind of gets low center of gravity and then he's gone, the way he can cut on a dime and he goes zoom. I think that should be the tag is Matty B goes zoom.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it. I think speed is something that people were talking about all off season. We need more speed. We don't have any. So they went on, they got speed, and that's exactly what he is. He's able to make that, if you give him an inch, he'll take 25 yards. So I think that's something that hopefully he can be utilized for that. And like I said, he didn't get a lot of reps last year, so hopefully they can put him in situations where he can succeed. And I hope his ankles are still good even after those injuries. I hope Moss is good as well. I can't remember if his was an ankle, but I know he got surgery. So I think. I think Dable will use him creatively as well. He likes his speed guys and he likes to put in some gadget plays and some sneaky stuff. So we're going to go over there a little bit of that as well. Actually, we're going to talk about some of the stuff that relates to that a little bit. I also see that there's a Seahawks fan in the chat. Hello, thank you for joining us. I'm glad that you're sharing your opinions here with us. You're muted, by the way, Casey. I don't know if you saw that. But
I had a little cough. No, I was
gotcha.
noticing the Seahawks. I'm glad that he's here. I'm glad that he's here to watch about Matty B and his highlights and all that good stuff. And I hope he's having a wonderful day. OG Mac Daddy. That's a wild name. Yeah. I wish I could pull off a name like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and all I have to say to him is that your quarterback doesn't even want to play for your team. So
go Hawks.
Yeah, go Hawks.
All righty. What's going on next?
All right, let's take it back and let's go look at some of the Bills stuff now and kind of see a little bit how it compares and how it relates to what we saw.
I have a lot of questions about this one clip.
Okay.
I have a lot of questions.
I'm excited then because there's a lot going on in a lot of these, and there's a lot to talk about in all of these. So hopefully we can get through it in a reasonable amount of time. This is the thing that I was most worried about, is getting through this without talking too much. Really, the thing with the Bills' run game is there's so many elements to a run game. In a lot of situations, you need 5 guys winning the rep. At least in order to have a successful run play. Sometimes it can be a little less. Sometimes you can have 4 guys win the rep. Maybe as few as 3 in certain situations, but the running back needs to know where he's going and he needs to hit the right spot. And then you need your lineman up front to be able to block, at least to a certain extent. If it's going one side, maybe the backside tackle doesn't need to do the best job in order to have a successful run play, which in my opinion is, if you get 5 yards in a run, that's a success for me. 4 yards is fine as well, because that way your average is probably looking pretty good as long as you're not losing yards. But yeah, I think it's hard to judge the run game a lot, but we're going to do our best to do it anyway. So in a play like this, I took a lot of these clips from 2 games where the Bills had statistically their worst yards per carry and statistically their best yards per carry, to kind of see the contrast in what was going on and some of the more major things. And I tried to pick plays that really stood out as either bad or good. It was hard to do. So hopefully it's a good representation on a play like this. So what we got I think that's Singletary, and it's a little pin and pull with Ford here. That's Cody Ford on the backside, and he's going to be pulling around. And something like this is frustrating because it's a mental error. And when you're an offensive lineman, physical errors are fine. You're going to get beat sometimes. The other guy's going to be stronger than you sometimes. But making a mental error, I think, is much more frustrating. And really what he does is he just kind of goes through the hole, and he just stops in the hole. I'm not really sure what he was doing, where he thought he was supposed to be blocking. I only have one explanation for it that I'll go over later. But you can see it here. Singletary runs right into him. I mean,
that was one of my questions. Like why is he stopping? Right, he sees no one really to block. Right, and he's got his body facing the sideline. No one really to block. I'm not an expert, Clay. You're the expert, right? My job is to be like, Clay, what's going on, right? Why would he not continue to keep his feet moving, going to look? It's always hat on hat. Why is he not going to look for a hat on hat at this moment? Because he messes up this play. Right, the running back runs right into him. So,
as far as I know, this is on Ford, and it's hard to know what's going on in his head. It's hard to know what's going on with the play call as well. So we don't know what the play call is, and I'll make one possible excuse for Ford, and that's going to be if this is supposed to be a trap play. And in a trap play, Winters would leave his guy alone. He wouldn't block this guy at all. Run right past, go take a linebacker, and then Ford on the pull would go hit that guy and push him out. So if that's the case, then it's on Winters and not Ford. But we don't know what the play call was. It kind of looked like it looks like Ford's looking out that way as if like, I think I'm supposed to be blocking him. But I'm not really sure what he's doing. If in any other situation, if you got a pulling guard, he's probably trying to go through the hole and up the field. So I'm not sure why he's not putting Tyrann Mathieu on his back right now, which is exactly what he should be doing. But instead he just kind of stops and breaks the play. I think it could have been a big gain if he had gone and blocked someone, even if he had just gone forward.
Go back to where he stops in the middle of the play. Right, look at there. Right, right there. Right. So if he runs upfield and I'm using my finger, like everybody in the comments can see it. Right. But if he just goes and he takes out Mathieu right there, who's the next closest to him?
Right. And it's, maybe this linebacker, there could be another safety. Maybe the free safety is up high and back. But yeah, that's a good point. And another thing too, if you move forward, even if you're just standing between
in the way,
then Devin Singletary is a guy where he can set the block up for you. He'll juke one way to get the defender that way, and then he'll juke back so that you've got a nice angle on him. And we'll see that later too. But yeah, it's just yes.
Zach, we got you.
We're gonna
play.
We've got even more.
I got you.
We have even more for you on Brian Winters. We are very glad that he's gone, and we'll touch on that a little bit. But yeah, this one I think is on Ford, unless Winters was the guy. I don't think that's the case if we're honest here.
Winters whiffs.
Yeah, Winters whiffs. That's the name of this play. And Cody needs to climb here. Cody Ford needs to climb. So this play, it's a typical. This is a zone read here, and actually, excuse me, this is a draw play. So we're faking pass pro. Dawkins does a good job. Williams does a good job. Looks like it's a pass. Both of their guys start to rush. And then in the interior here, we're going to take a closer look. But there's a guy in the backfield already, and then there's nothing thereafter. He even gets past the first guy. So first, we're going to watch this full speed. Here's Brian Winters. Take a look at him first. Yeah, he's not doing a whole lot on that, is he?
Would you like to come to the backfield? I'm not. Yeah. I'm not doing anything. Come on down.
I get that this is a really good interior defensive lineman, but to not even really touch the guy, I think he might have slapped his arm, but that's about it. And, good for Moss having a guy like that in his face. He still gets out of it. But the second part of this is that we need Cody Ford to break off of this double team and climb to the second level. Because in a situation like this, first of all, yeah, sure, it's a draw play, so you're dropping back like it's pass. But now what I'd like him to do is once that handoff comes, so he engages now, he's forward, he's got his clock right, so he goes forward at the right time. But now he needs to hit here and release and get Sorensen out here. But instead, he just decides to make this block really good. That one guy is not going to do anything. The two linebackers that are unblocked, they're happy. But yeah, he needs to release off and go to the linebacker here. And I can't imagine that a double team is the call, is to keep that double team and not let him go off. But yeah, that's something that we need. And I think that's another mental mistake from Ford. And those have been most of what I've seen from him. So I have a lot of faith in him that he can still learn it. He has bad techniques sometimes where he doesn't anchor himself very well or things like that. But I really think that Ford's mental mistakes are going to be kind of what makes or breaks him.
Richard, it only gets sadder. I promise. I promise you.
Yeah. And we could talk about this Brian Winters play for a long time if we wanted to. But we have more
Brian Winters plays.
We have more Brian Winters plays that we need to talk about going forward here.
This one
here
right here.
Right here. So we're going to take a look. I don't know if I circled them. I didn't. But this is I think this is just a regular yes. Oh, we got a pin. We got a pin and pull here. We got pullers. Cody Ford and Morse are both pulling on this one. So I like. I'm a fan of this play. I like it when both of these guys pull and both of them are successful. I think Feliciano runs this a little bit better in my opinion. But this is a play where we could have got a lot of yards if it weren't for the backside guard Brian Winters, and he just completely misses that chop block. I think it's Hitchens here. Just jumps right over him. No problem. And if you take this guy out, if we just edit him out of this picture, that's a huge hole to run through. So Winters probably turns 15 yards into 5 here. I mean, Singletary still does what he can and, gets around Hitchens a little bit. But, yeah, I know. It's so bad. Well, watching Brian Winters, the thing about Brian Winters is you don't notice him until you notice him. Yeah, like a lot of times it's like, yeah, wait, Brian Winters, if I pay attention to him, he did fine here. And then all of a sudden it's like, God damn it, Brian, what are you doing? But yeah, that's
slow-mo it. Right.
We're glad that he's gone. Because look at all the other blocks too. Everyone's doing a really good job. We've got Dawkins is going to down block. At Dawkins down block. There's a pull and there's a pull. And then we've got, I think Croft is, yeah, that's a good reach block by Croft. And then he gets a little bit He doesn't get any help on the outside either. But Morse does a good job pulling. Ford does a good job sealing that off, and there's a huge lane to run through if Hitchens isn't there. So glad that Winters is not on the roster anymore.
Now, I get the stop throwing Winters under the bus, but we don't only have Winters problems, right, on this O-line. And I think this one right here, Dawkins bad, Ford bad, Morris bad. So this was a collective line right here. And then later on in the show, we actually have Feliciano being bad. It's not just one person. It's
right.
Collectively as a whole. And I hear the argument all the time on the Twitterverse, which says, hey, why do we need to upgrade the line? This line didn't, all five of them didn't really play together, right? So I think that right there is a dialogue and discussion, that you could talk about. Does it really matter? Clay, what is your opinion on that? Does it really matter if all five of them didn't play together? They didn't get those reps. I know it's a timing thing.
Yeah.
For the line.
Chemistry can matter in certain situations. When you've got your guys, in a pin and pull situation, you need to make sure you're running right off, the guy who's replacing for you. If you're the puller, you need to get right off his back hip as fast as you can in situations with the zone scheme. A lot of it is a double and then reach or climb to the second level. So you're going to be doubling with someone else in a lot of situations, depending on where they line up. So it's a double here, and then which one of us is going to go off and block at the second level. A lot of the times that depends on who's got the best leverage. Sometimes it's sometimes they have it set up where, you've got a guy in a certain role. If the defender's lined up a certain way, it's a double. And then I, for sure, I'm going to go to that second level because I need to push him in a direction and then go get that linebacker. So there's things like that definitely matter for chemistry to an extent. And I do think that Cody Ford is better than Brian Winters. And I think that Feliciano is better than Cody Ford. So, taking out Brian Winters, I think upgrades the line a little bit, and having Cody Ford, I think on the other side in that right guard position, I think is going to be helpful.
While we have a little bit of a timeout, we've got 110 people watching the show right now live. So while you're here, while you're in the comments, go ahead, give us a thumbs up. Go ahead and like the page. Go ahead and support us if you don't mind. Oswald coming in good, saying he had a good year, but I probably wouldn't have signed Feliciano. That was up for debate through everything. Personally, I agree with Ryan at Sports Rock. I think Dose number 2 is his name on the Twitterverse. You want to give him a follow. He said he had the audacity, the gauze, to say that I would not mind watching Feliciano ride the bench this year. And I think what the point he was trying to make is when you go and you draft a youngster in the draft, whether it's a high pick or not, but you find that person and you replace him on the line, and it immediately makes it better, and Feliciano goes back to a reserve role like he should be. I think that would make it better for the whole line.
I would agree. I don't know. I like Feliciano as a person, as a motivator, as a team guy, as a process guy, but I just don't think he is. He's a lower tier starting caliber guard. Yeah, I think he can start and he'll be okay. But I don't think he's to that mid upper echelon of guys where I still think that there's reason to continue looking for guards. Basically, is what I'm going to say. Let me see. What do we got here? This one is pretty much a busted play all the way through. The entire offensive line, it's a zone read to the left side here, and pretty much all three of those guys on the left side just get blown up. It's a good play by the defense. They run kind of a pinch scheme. Everyone's going in and really screws them over. And then he tries to cut it back, and it doesn't end up working out. And that's because you've got. I don't like this. I'm not a huge fan of this, but I understand also that the play is designed to go this way. But with a play like this, I mean, why not give him an option at a cutback as well? Because really, I mean, I want to see it here from the end zone angle again. Right off the snap, you've got the ability to double team this guy with these two, and then one of them can go to the second level. But I'm not a big fan of this double team. I think that this should be a fairly easy block, for him. I think it should be a down block here, a double team here, and then the center would climb. I don't think you need Williams to help with this double team on this side. I would much rather have him help out Tyler Croft, who's alone against a defensive end than help out, a lineman, even though it is Brian Winters. I would like to have him. I'd rather have him help Croft going against an outside, a defensive end on his own, because he's the one that ends up making the play. I mean, it's not Croft's fault. The play shouldn't have been going that direction anyway. Croft could have had a better block. Certainly, I think if it was Lee Smith, maybe it would have been a little bit better, but the play was dead on arrival pretty much, just because the entire this half of the offensive line just was not ready for this stunt. I mean, Ford and Morse are screwed already. Dawkins is pretty much screwed already, and there's really just nowhere to go. I do like what Moss does. He decides not to just dive into that pile. He cuts back. I think he gets maybe a yard or two here. And if there was a better block on the end, maybe he would have done something more with it too. Now we're going to talk a little bit about some of those just kind of interior technique things, and this is something that it's not something you notice a lot, but Morse just pretty much gets moved and moved and moved, and he just keeps on getting pushed back into the play here, and that's really because he just doesn't get around fast enough to set himself up. First of all, it's a really hard reach block. There's a lot to kind of take in. First of all, Morse is here, and he has to get to the outside shoulder of this lineman here. So he's going to get help from Feliciano. Feliciano is going to try to chip him inside to give Morse extra time to get there and get leverage on him. So he gives him a little chip there while Morse is getting to his spot. Feliciano, like he should, goes up and gets the linebacker at the next level. But Morse is just getting pushed back the whole time. And you look at his footwork here. He's just off balance. He's got no support in his legs when he's going through. He's not anchored well. And he's just getting driven back right into the play. And then Singletary's got nowhere to go.
Did Singletary make the wrong cut right there? Because if you slow it down, slow right there where he cuts, to the left,
right?
Should he have cut it up?
That probably. It's hard to say at this moment, and you can see from the other angle it adds an extra dimension, but you could say maybe he should have bounced outside. Because I think maybe if he does, Lee Smith's having a good block. Dawkins is blocking pretty well. If he bounces outside, maybe he gets a couple, but I still think that Lee Smith, he might get burned by this guy anyway once he gets to the outside. It is hard to say. It's not like he can really fit up into this gap where he's supposed to go, especially since Dawkins is now losing to the inside. So at this point, I would say, yes, bounce it outside. Even though it's real close, bounce it, try to get something. But I mean, there's really not much there anyway. I can't. It's hard for me to blame Singletary for that when it's his own lineman's just kind of getting driven right back into his face. I think it's the fact that he was able to cut up and get any amount of yards on it. I can't remember if this was like a 1 or 2 yard gain, but it's tough in a situation like that. Let's talk about this play. What do we got? Oh, I love this play. Feliciano is pulling here. So this is a similar play to what we got with Cody Ford, where he went out and he sat there and did nothing. This could be the same play. I could be incorrect. Don't quote me on it. But he pulls around, and I have no idea what he's doing here. He's taking his sweet time. I said he was playing duck, duck, goose on his way through. Taps him. Oh, there's the guy I'm supposed to block. I just don't understand why he's waiting so long to go out all the way there.
Right there. Yeah. So if you go back right there in the hole.
Oh, sorry. Which angle?
The end zone angle.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you pause it right there, I don't know, is that 36 for LA right there in the
here?
hole?
Yeah.
If he had cut it up and got, is that what he's supposed to do instead of just keep bouncing around the hole?
No, I don't think so in this situation. Okay. And that's just because in almost any situation where you've got a guard pulling, unless of course it's a trap play, you want to follow your guard. I mean, you've got a guy who is 300 pounds running full speed in front of you. That's the best shield that you could have. You want to, in high school they teach it, put your hand on his back and run behind him, and then once you get to someone, shove him into the guy that he's supposed to be blocking. So I like that he's following. And then as soon as the block happens, he tries to cut up. It's just time left. Really what I don't like about Feliciano is, he does a little bit of a duck, goose. And I would like him just to go straight to goose and make his block here, because I'm not, if he just beelines it right out to 43, I don't know if he's expecting someone else to be there to block or why it took him so long. But if he goes out and is able to hit 43 sooner, then there's going to be a decent gap over there on the sideline, and we can see that better from the other angle as well.
Richard coming in saying, all I see on these views is the defense filling gaps everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they certainly do. Like I said, I'm not sure if Feliciano maybe should have cut it up sooner, because
that's what I'm saying right here. Should he not have came at 30?
Right. Okay, I see what you're saying. Should Feliciano have cut it up there?
Yeah.
Okay.
And see if he had done that maybe would have created a goal. But then you have, I think that's number 23, who's actually crashing into the hole. But I mean, you probably would have got a little bit more yardage on the play if he had done that. But instead, if you go super slow, he does do the duck goose thing where he puts his foot and he's like, that's a big hole. Let me just go to the outside real quick.
Right.
So I don't know.
And I'm not really sure, where he's supposed to go up. Is he supposed to go right around Knox? Is he supposed to go inside of Knox, and Knox just loses the block to the point where that's not there anymore? Because it does kind of look like he's ready to go forward. So it's hard to say. Maybe this was a broken play because Knox couldn't get his block. But then Gabe Davis, he's doing the best that he can, and Feliciano, he needs to have better vision to know that there's not much going on here, but look at all this out here, and all I have to do is block that corner. And if he gets out there sooner, if he's hitting him right here, there's going to be such a nice lane for him to run through. But instead, he has to wait longer. He has to cut back. It's a little frustrating. But yes, the defense does fill the gaps pretty well.
And then Harold came in and said, do you have any videos when the Bills O-line looked good on run blocking? We do have those coming up as well. We got people were talking, we did this last week, and we wanted to see more of the negatives and see, because that way, you see both sides, you see the good, you see the bad, and then you can kind of make more of an informed decision on what you think about it. So I wanted to bring in the negatives. I'm saving the positives for later so that we can all leave here happy and on a high note. Yeah. But yeah, so that's something that, I'm not sure if maybe he messed up or if he should have just gotten out there faster. It's hard to say, really. This is one where it's a similar situation as to what happened with Morse earlier, except with this one, the entire offensive line, except, Williams, who's a backside blocker on this, he can take that guy out here, up there, back there, anywhere he wants. Feliciano's the only one who doesn't get any push on the line. And that's not too much of an issue. It's still an okay run. But I think that's kind of just something where it could have been a lot better if he was getting a little bit of extra push, because it's a zone read and Singletary is looking forward. He's trying to see where he should go. If there's a little more push, if he's able to drive him upfield a little bit more, then he can take it right up the gut instead of having to cut it back inside. If he gets that pushed out a little bit more, there should be a gap right up the middle. But instead, he has to come outside where he's got weaker blockers against better guys, better defenders. And in this case, he's got Knox, who's a one-on-one block with a linebacker here, and he just gets tossed pretty much, Knox does. So, I'd like to see Feliciano maybe get a little bit more. And I know he's solo, and these guys are double-teamed. I'd like to see him be able to drive a little bit more, get his hips around, because even still, he gets tossed in the end as well, and kind of just loses this rep pretty much the entire time. He doesn't really have control. He has no control here. He's getting grabbed inside by the defender, and you can see that's true. As soon as the running back breaks, he just throws Feliciano to the ground. So I'd like to see him engage a little bit better and drive him back a little bit more instead of just kind of getting stood up like that. That I think was Feliciano's biggest knock, is his kind of, I'm going to block you right here, or I'm going to push you back. Those are kind of things where he struggled a little bit. And then in pass as well, where he would get driven back a lot. So we're still not on positives yet, but we're almost there. I promise. This one, it's that
that pin and pull play where we've got two pullers again. The two guys, we got Winners over here and Morse over here. Those are the two guys pulling. I'm a big fan of this play, except not when this happens. Morse goes around and just misses the block. It's kind of like what Winners did earlier, and you can see it here. He just misses that backer, and that's who ends up making the tackle. And this is a play where if you hit that guy, it's going to be pretty good because who else do you have? You've got that guy blocked. You've got that guy blocked. And then you've got another blocker and then Moss. So if they're able to get through, Reggie Gilliam's leading the way now. If he can get all the way up to 49, then that would be huge. And I know 52, who is that driving, I think, Dawkins all the way across the field there. Good on him for that. It was actually Dawkins pushing. Okay, my bad. But yeah, we need that. We need that block. If you're pulling, if you're lead blocking, you got to hit your guy. And here he gets it. This is the same game later on. He gets it this time, gets through. Great block that time, and then they get like 10 yards on this play. Great block. And that's what you need. I mean, you got to hit those when you're going through. We don't have Reggie Gilliam lead blocking this time, so no one gets to 49, but they still get the first down. They get about 10 yards on this. And this is something that the Bills struggle with every once in a while is blocking at the second level and getting those linebackers. I will say Feliciano, I think, does that the best probably out of anyone else is get to that second level and is able to block them at that second level. What we got here? Ford losing leverage. Yeah. On this play, it's Ford just kind of getting controlled, like we saw Feliciano earlier. Him just kind of getting controlled. Doesn't really have any power. And right here, he's standing straight up. Got his hands inside on the pads. The defender does, and he's pretty much in control. As soon as Singletary cuts back, which was it the right read? I mean, he's got a gap there. He's got somewhat of a gap if he follows through here. I think I would have rather him kind of go behind Ford, if I'm honest, and take the outside route and follow around his pulling center here. But instead, he decides to cut up, and I mean, Ford just kind of gets thrown off and doesn't get it. Now here's the same play, except he's got it this time. Watch Ford. He gets planted, gets leverage.
He turns
and
him.
then in that situation, when he's not getting pushed around, Devin Singletary has more confidence going into that hole. Look at it. He's like, well, that guy's kind of getting pushed away. I need to cut up. And then if we go to the next play, when he's got a better leverage, he says, yes, that's a better place for me to go now. And he's able to get up there and get a decent amount of yards on that play. So these are plays where it was, I found it was, he did bad first, and then he fixed it later on in the game. So it's good to see that they're able to make adjustments on those plays to these players, and that's a good D lineman there that he's playing against as well. All right, this is another one where it does it bad, then does it good, and this is an interesting draw play that I don't necessarily like. Things like this are probably why. What are you going to say? I feel like you're going to.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I'm speechless at this play. When I first saw it, I was like, what is going on? I guess it's to fake it out, like he's going for the pass protection, but instead he slaps him upside the head and he takes off running.
It's weird. It's a weird play. Dawkins does do that slap. He'll do it on he'll do it on draw plays. He'll do it on screen plays. He'll do it on pass bros sometimes too. Where if a guy wants to go to the outside, he will just try to push his shoulders as hard as he can and get him past. This one, he's just doesn't have the timing. Just watch. I mean, he just kind of slaps him and leaves. He doesn't have the timing down. He doesn't have any power in this. The defender's planting.
It's like when Creed on The Office. I don't even like The Office, but everybody's seen this one scene where the old man on The Office, Creed, slaps the woman upside the head and takes off running. That's exactly what Dawson's doing right now. He slaps the defender and he takes off running.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what it feels like here. I don't know if it's the timing. I don't know if he's not expecting this guy to be reacting to the run so fast, but he just kind of slaps. So they slap each other. Really, it's almost like a little like they get each other in the face, and then they just leave. Well, Dawkins just leaves, and that guy makes the tackle pretty easily because he sees it coming. And now here's what it looks like when it's run correctly. There's a good slap. See, he tossed him back an extra 5 yards there on that slap, and I think the defensive end kind of committed to the pass rush there as well, which is nice. He commits, but also that's a great push to get him out. And then look at the massive hole that he creates when he goes to the second level as well. And Singletary doing a nice job, by the way, to read these blocks and squeeze through that little gap, kind of like we saw Breida do earlier. But yeah, here's the good slap. He's got, his momentum's already going that way, so he just slaps him, and he is out of the play. Immediately goes up, gets that linebacker. Singletary squeezes through the gap. It's good. I used to hate that play call just because of the what the quarterback's doing. I was never a big fan, just because what else are you going to run out of this? If you see the quarterback make it a beeline toward your running back who's standing there doing nothing, we all know what the play is going to be. So I'm not an enormous fan of that play call, but it works out here. And who am I to say what play call is going to work and what's not? I'm much more stupid than Brian Dable. So, yeah, this one, now we're just going to kind of talk about Feliciano a little bit because I do like him in the run game sometimes. I think he's probably the best run blocker in that interior of the offensive line. You could maybe say Morse is good as well, but I don't think Morse has the ability to go to the second level and block as well as Feliciano does. So I will say he has value in the run game. So hopefully he can prove himself in the pass game as well. But this is something, it's a fairly simple play. It's just it's the zone run that we've been talking about, and double team here and then go get the linebacker. And that's exactly what he does. Gives him a push, goes and gets the linebacker, creates a nice little gap for Singletary to run through. And right about here, this is what I like, the push. And now the whole point of that push is to get Morse so that he can get his hips this way and push him back this way. And that's exactly what happens there. He's able to get around because of a good push, goes up and gets the linebacker. Feliciano does there, which I like. It's a lot of the other guys. Winners had trouble going up and getting that second level. Morse struggled sometimes going up and blocking linebackers. I think Feliciano might be the best one at being able to hit that second level there. Yeah, this is another one where he does a good job. I'm pretty sure he gets to the second level here as well. Yeah, gets a little push and then goes up and gets that second guy. Singletary does a nice job here to set up the blocks as well, which is something that he's very good at. His momentum's going this way. And that's kind of where he's just going to get carried. But right about here, he sees that Feliciano's got this block on the inside. So he does a little cutback. And in doing so, this linebacker is gone. I don't know if that's a linebacker or defensive end, but he is out of there. So that's a fun little play. It is a defensive end there. Dawkins is doing a good job blocking too, but that little jab step just keeps him kind of going in that motion. And then to cut up, it's a good one-cut run there from Singletary. And pretty good blocking across the board. I mean, Lee Smith kind of, his guy ends up getting in on the tackle, but I don't have any real problems with what Lee was doing. These last couple plays I like just because they're fun blocking schemes. And I like this. This is kind of more of what Brian Dable's doing and, using his creativity in the blocking schemes. I don't know what this is called. There's definitely a technical term for this. It doesn't look like anything special from this view. But I think this play is so cool. And the reason, sorry, I went back a little farther. And the reason is you've got this guy's down blocking and he's going up to the next level. I could be wrong about that. I think he's down blocking, he's going up, he's down blocking, he's going up, and he's down blocking and he's going up. So it's like a triple switch. You've got this guy, and this guy all going directly to the second level. Well, you've got this guy, and this guy all down blocking and trying to wash. I don't know what this is called, but it's very cool. If anyone knows what the name of this, anyone knows what this is called, let me know. because I just think it's a really cool blocking scheme.
Is that Knox? I can't see. He's hidden.
That's Croft.
Croft.
Yeah. Croft makes a good
does a
block
good
on
job.
Hitchens.
Yeah, he does a really
Croft,
good job.
Croft appreciation right here.
Yeah.
That's a great block on
Yeah.
Anthony Hitchens. He's a big dude.
Yeah.
He's going in there and taken care of. But yeah, I just thought this was a really cool scheme. Throws everybody off a little bit because the guy that's in front of you is not going to be blocking you. You're going to get hit by someone else, and usually that's kind of like what your goal is on a trap block, where it's you let one guy. Thank you. But yeah, it's in a trap block, you let the guy go past you, let your lineman go past you, and then a puller comes along, and the goal is to blindside him legally, and so you don't know where that block is coming from. But I just think it's a really cool little scheme here, and it's well blocked too. Everyone is blocking well. It creates a nice little seam. It's not a crazy big play, but trap, counter, tray, etc. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, trap. It's like a trap tray. Sure. That sounds good to me. I'll take that. But yeah, I just thought that was pretty cool. And then a triple pull too. We've got a triple switch, and now we've got a triple pull. We've got all three interior defensive linemen are going to be pulling. I don't know how often this happens. I don't see it that much. I just thought it was kind of cool. And in unison to watch all three guys just leave, and then create this kind of bubble, where Winters is kind of making sure this backside guy doesn't do anything. And then you've got Morse actually making a decent block at the second level here on the pull. Feliciano, that guy's toast. Morse making a decent block there, getting a little chip. I'm not sure if Winters is supposed to go through the hole or if he's supposed to hang back like that, but I just thought that was kind of cool. Now we've got at the end here, we just want a little Moss appreciation. I talked about this play with the 585 report guys. And this is something where we don't see a lot where the running backs are making their own plays type of a thing. And with the Bills, especially, where it's like, wow, nothing happened. There was nothing there, but they still made a good play. I think this is one of the only ones really from the season where it's nothing's there and it's just all on the running back. And it's like he barrels right through Darrell Williams. And this is all Moss. There's really not any blocks that are being set up. By the way, this is the softest personal foul ever. I think in the history of the NFL. This is a personal foul right there. Apparently it's a personal foul. There's the flag. That was ridiculous. The rest of this game were terrible, but that's a discussion for another day. But yeah, I mean, really, he's supposed to go through here. No. There's nothing there really. I mean, all the linemen pretty much just get stuffed. They get stood up, and there's nowhere for him to go. So he, oddly enough, gives his best business decision of the season to his own lineman and sends him to the ground. And then he just makes something happen. He cuts to the outside and gets down the field, stiff arm in. I like that play.
He does his best Matty B impersonation.
Yes, yeah. Just get outside and make something happen on the sideline. And then this is a play where just it's just beautiful when you see everyone at the same time hitting their blocks. They're in the right position. Everyone's hips are turned the right way, and the running back goes through the hole perfectly. And this is off one of the pin and pull plays where you've got your two guys pulling. It's wow. Just the blocking all the way through is so good. Everyone's doing a great job on the blocks. And I said on Twitter, I think Breida here scores a touchdown. And the only reason I say that is because of his breakaway speed. Devin Singletary does a good job of reading it and everything. I'm going to take it back. We've got our two pullers right here. Good down block. You've got Lee Smith. He's coming in and getting this linebacker. And then we've got a kick out on Bosa. Great kick out. Extra little help from Morse. He's going to go to the second level, get the corner. And I mean, no one touches Devin Singletary until he's 30 yards down the field. Yeah, like he's already gone before he first gets touched. And that's just a thing of beauty when everything comes together. All the entire lineman, all 6 guys really are doing their job. And yeah, I think maybe Breida would have scored just because of the straight line speed, but great play all around. And we'll see. Well, I guess maybe we'll see if Breida scores on those plays next year.
So we just got done watching Matt Breida, right? We just got done watching the O-line, the running back. I think the question now that everybody, who's been watching, is it the O-line's fault or is it the running back's fault? Right?
Yeah.
What's really going on? I think both me and Clay, we're both on the same page here, where it's a little of both on both of them. So I think drafting to upgrade the offensive line. If someone falls to 30, right, and it's a good interior offensive line, drafting to replace maybe a Feliciano or Cody Ford if he doesn't pan out. I think that's probably the best bet. And I think that's really what Bean is setting himself up. He's bringing people back so he can go best player available, and he doesn't have to overreach on people's draft stock.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. I think it's a little bit on both. I mean, there's some physical restrictions just with the running backs, no straight line speed until we see Breida in that Bills uniform. Moss is a good running back. I really like Moss. I think he's definitely the more versatile, where he's not crazy fast, but he can run through you. He can do good jump cuts. He can be a nice one cut runner too. And it's largely execution. That's the thing is there's sometimes when when you're physically getting beaten. In a lot of the there's situations where I showed a couple. Cody Ford just got beat. Morse just got beat. Feliciano physically we're just getting beat. And I think I'm more okay with those because you can only do so much physically. Prepare yourself and know your form and everything. But if you make a mental mistake, then that's pretty much inexcusable. So if that's why I think I'm most concerned about Cody Ford is he needs to cut down on those mental mistakes. He needs to get better at that. But yeah, I mean, I think consistency, it could help. I don't think it's going to do anything crazy. I know people are saying, oh, we never had this line together for any snaps.
Yeah.
That's true. And I do think that the guys that we have would have been the best personnel last year if you got Ford and Feliciano at the guard positions. I think that would have been the best personnel. But honestly, is it coaching?
Ooh, now that is a question. That is a question I don't think I've heard. Is it coaching on the offensive line and not the players, because it is an execution problem?
Yeah, and it certainly could be. The pass blocking. Everyone's kind of got their strong suits. Feliciano is not a very good pass blocker. And I could devote a whole show to that if I wanted to, just him losing in pass blocks. But he's a better run blocker.
Yeah.
So I think he has his value, at least, whatever that value is, he has some to the team. And I think Ford has good physical ability. I think he's got the physicality to be able to push guys around. He just needs to know what he's doing. He needs to make sure that he gets to the second level. He needs to make sure that when he's pulling, he's hitting somebody. If he's going to make a mistake, to make it aggressively. I do think it's a little bit of both. I think Singletary has great vision. He's got great one-cut guy. He's shifty. He can make you miss in a phone booth, kind of like Shady used to. I think those are kind of his upside, but that speed, that lack of speed for his size, it hurts sometimes because he can have the best looking 10-yard run, but that's all it is in the end, is a 10-yard run when maybe a guy that's faster can get some more yards on that. Even on that breakaway run he had against the Broncos, he didn't use his speed. He was using his smarts and his quickness to get around, 3 guys in the secondary and use his blockers as kind of human shields and things like that. I like Singletary. I think he is a really smart guy. He usually knows where he's supposed to go. Moss missed the mark sometimes. He would miss his reads a few times. I watched a lot of his film last year. Shady was different. I'm not Oswald. I'm not trying to compare him to Shady. Shady is in a level of his own. But as far as the shiftiness goes, he's that type of a player where he's more shifty than anything else. But yeah, I mean, I think all the running backs, like I said, they have their skills. I think, to me, always upgrade the line. You can have good rushing stats with a good line and a bad running back, but you can't really have good rushing stats
with a
a
bad
bad line and a good running back. If your line's bad, your running back's not going to have anywhere to run unless he's Barry Sanders, because I think he's probably the only one that's ever done it where, he will make guys miss in the backfield and run for 60 yards for a touchdown. I think that's probably the way that they should go. I'm hoping for an offensive guard that's starting caliber in the draft, first 3 rounds.
Yep.
Yeah, anything else to add? What do you, going through kind of the Bill stuff that I sent you over? What were your thoughts on that? Anything else?
Because it was funny after watching Matt Breida. I just noticed sometimes he can make himself smaller. Devin Singletary doesn't do that all the time, I should say. There's some plays where he can shift and he can make himself smaller and hit the hole. But Matt Breida does that more often than Singletary does. So after watching Breida and then going to the Bills, there's certain plays, and we showed some of those plays where if we had Breida in that situation, it's probably going for 10, 12 yards as opposed to, 2 to 5 yards. So that was my only thought on it.
Yeah, and I want to touch on this one too because I like this comment. Is it scheme? If you don't get touches, because you only get 2 rush plays called in the one half, it's hard to get good gains like this. Yeah. And I agree with that as well. When there is that old mantra, establish the run. It makes sense. You do need to, if you're gonna get a good run game, usually it needs to be established. You need to be able to get your guys running these plays more often, running these plays together more often, to keep it familiar for them. And that way, if things go wrong, they know how to fix it. And then again, if there's more reps, there's more chances of good things happening. There's more good chance, there's more chances for bad things to happen too. But I do think that, if there were more reps, if there were other games where they just needed to run the ball. There were times when they just needed to run the ball, like, closing out the Patriots game, I think it was the Patriots game closing in the Chargers game. They needed to run a decent amount, and they did. They ran it successfully when they really needed to. I would say the only time they didn't was probably against the Chiefs, which is that first game. They really only had a few successful plays there. But yeah, I think it's with the run game, it's so hard to tell. Even if you've watched everything, even if I were to go through and watch every run snap from every game, I still don't think I would know exactly what the issue is. Thank you very much, Oswald, for the donation there. And I appreciate that. Thank you for sticking around the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's really hard to tell what the issue is. And I think it's just a little bit of everything, a little bit of physical loss, a little bit of mental errors, a little bit of running back, a little bit of line. And, scheme, coaching. It could be anything. There's so many variables.
Yeah. Little of both. Before we go, make sure you go ahead and you like the video. You subscribe to Buffalo Fanatics. You go ahead and you do that. And then follow us both on Twitter. You can find Clay. His name is right there at Clay Troya. That's him on Twitter, and then mine is at Cash Out. It's Cash Out BF that you can find me on Twitter. Go ahead and follow us, and then tweet us. Tell us who we should go and look at next. Who I should ask Clay questions about next is essentially what it comes down to.
Yeah, and if you have any ideas, you can leave them in the comments. You could either comment here or when the stream ends. If you're watching this later, go ahead and comment down below. Who do you want to see? And we're hopefully going to be putting up another poll here on YouTube as well as on the Twitter page. So be on the lookout for that on who we want to look at. I'll let you take that one first.
Yeah. So the rules to this, Harold, is we've gone over our time limit. Okay. So we're each just gonna say we're just gonna say a player, right? No comment, no reason behind it, but we're just gonna say a player, and then we're gonna dip, right? So I'm gonna say my player. I'm gonna say go Bills, and I'm gonna pass it over to Clay. So Jalen Phillips, and that'll do it. Go Bills.
The best player on the board, and that's who I'm gonna go with. And go Bills. Thank you guys for sticking around. Appreciate it.